Camera changes this time.
There we go. We're live. Yay.
Hey. Did you notice the last time the camera never left me? You guys were never the big. There you go. It's working this time.
Sorry, folks.
Yeah, sorry that you won't just get to gaze at me for however long this lasts. So anyway, I'm sure that we'll have a huge live audience. So I'm very excited about this. And I'm sure they can tweet at us or something. We might actually look and answer a question or two. But mostly I think they're just here to listen to the three experts talk about things.
Well, so, I think we'll have a lot of people because they'll just flip over right after the post game for Game 5 to this.
Yeah, as soon as that ends, somebody let us know. Text us or something.
So Cubs advanced. I was confident all the way. So how dusty was that game when he used a challenge in the very first play of the on a pretty meaningless very first play of the game that was just as dusty can be. And then his post-game presser was just whoa is Dusty, and it was hilarious to watch.
I'm amazed that Dusty ever challenges anything because I think to him, like the height of technology is jazz albums. So he's like, wait a minute, what? The pictures move? No. So somebody, I'd really like to know how many decisions Dusty actually makes at this point. Like, I don't think he makes any pitching decision. I think Mike Maddox just tells him what to do, and he wanders out there.
So why is he getting paid?
If they're smart, they wouldn't let him make any decisions. Because, good God.
So John Farrell got fired after what 5 years and making it and winning the division.
He won a World Series.
And
he won a World Series. 3 division titles, got canned, and they're going to give Dusty a contract extension to do whatever it is.
If the Red Sox don't snap him up,
that would be the best.
How great! That would be the best for Joe Girardi, who, kudos to the Yankees, but Joe Girardi, I think, is one of the biggest bonehead managers in baseball. But thank God the Cubs didn't end up with him when everyone was clamoring for Girardi.
I assume all Girardi does all day is he does chest exercises and reads his binder. I think that's like he's awake 18 hours a day, and that's all he does. He does push-ups while he reads the binder, just so he can look buff.
Plots against He-Man. Isn't that what Cap does all day? Is just push-ups and benching?
The process.
I ran into Cap and DeJesus. I met DeJesus and before the game. I forget if it was before the rained out game because I was down there both. That was great. Down there for both just in case they played on Tuesday or whatever it was. Would have been. And Cap was like, "Oh, so who are you here with? Your wife?" I'm like, "Not to my knowledge." And then he said, "Say hi to someone's name." I can't remember. I'm like, "Who do you think I am?" Maybe he said, "Miss
It would
Piggy."
be good to know.
That would have been, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably what he said. So
I hope you have a follow-up.
I'm still at a loss for what actually happened on like if you made me go through and tell you in what order the Cubs actually scored those runs, because usually it's 9. I can remember 9 things. I have no chance. It's all a blur of what happened when and how they. The only thing I remember is that by far the best move that Dusty made was when he intentionally walked Jason Hayward in the 5th inning, because there's no way Max Scherzer can get Jason Hayward out.
My mom was asking me what the sequence. I was at lunch with her yesterday, and we were talking about the game, of course, and she was asking what the sequence. She's like, "Well, who came out of the bullpen after?" And I was like, I don't remember. I have no idea. I'm like, Quintana pitched at some point, but I don't remember when. And I felt like we didn't see a lot, considering how much we saw of Montgomery in last year's NLDS. I felt like we didn't see a lot of Montgomery. I might be completely misremembering that, but for a guy that Joe seemed to trust more than anyone, except for Chapman in the bullpen last year, I feel like we didn't see him a lot.
Joe said Montgomery
Okay.
was supposed to finish. What inning was he in? God, good Lord. He must have pitched.
I have no idea.
He came in the 6th, right? He was supposed to pitch the 6th and the 7th, and then they were
So that
hoping
was
to
about
figure out what
11.
to do with Wade. And
That
he
was
couldn't
about
throw a strike.
11:45 Central.
Yeah, he walked a guy through a wild pitch
Yeah.
on ball 4, and
I think he walked.
then I knew when Carl walked the first guy, he was done. Joe was basically going
Yeah.
to say, all right, you have one batter to prove you can throw a strike tonight. If you can't, you got to go.
Yeah.
So
I was glad Joe went and got him right away this time.
yeah,
I mean,
He looked like he was gonna cry when he.
yeah.
Not Joe, Carl.
Yeah.
I looked like I was going to cry too. So
Did you guys watch the game from home? Your home?
I did. Yeah, I put myself in a straitjacket so I wouldn't harm myself, and I watched it right here.
Why is this stressful? Like this should not be a stressful postseason, and that game last night was almost as stressful as Game 7.
Now, I think,
yeah.
For me, I think,
sorry. Andy, are you frozen?
Andy?
All right. Well, we lost Andy for momentarily. Kyle, so you watched it. Did you go out somewhere, or did you go by Wrigley? Did you experience the furor?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I buddy of mine and I went to a bar down Racine, about a half mile south and west of the stadium. Little diver, like Higgins, something I think it's called.
Don't give it away. Then you can still use it as a dive.
Oh, yeah. But no, I was looking for a place that would be like people like actually locked into the game and not just for the atmosphere and whatnot. So no, it worked out well, and probably not a great thing that I'm in public for these kind of events, but
that's what for games 5 and 6 of the World Series, I'd watch him at home down in the basement on the projector. And a buddy asked, he's right after they won Game 6. He's like, "We're going to Cleveland." He's like, "You want to go?" I'm like, I don't think so. If I hadn't been to a series game before, I probably would have gone, but I didn't want to mortgage my home to get a ticket. But
yeah, right.
But yeah, there's something to be said about that collective panic, because it's bad enough reading my Twitter feed, which everyone gave up on this team again for some reason after Game 2, and then so that's about all I can handle. Is the Twitter panic. Dealing with those people live is too much for me. Hello, Andy.
Hi.
Welcome to the back.
Welcome back. You should have heard me though. I had a good 30 seconds of really astute commentary, and then the little thing flashed up that you're offline. Like, oh well, okay, good.
Can you recreate it? I forget what story you're even telling.
The magic is gone. It was basically me saying that part of the reason that I still feel the panic was part of it was Dusty. I really didn't want to see him win. I didn't want the Cubs to be the team that finally lost to him. But mostly I think we convinced ourselves that once they won the World Series, then we'd all be good. And yeah, it's part of it. It's less panic than normal, but you also know they're only going to make the playoffs so many times,
right?
And you don't want to see them squander any opportunity. So
yes, then the 2012 Nationals.
Yeah. So they still haven't named a starting pitcher for
they
game 1.
They just did this morning. I think Sullivan.
Jose.
Yeah, going Quintana.
Oh, I thought they had said that yesterday, but yeah, because I had heard Quintana. Good. Yeah, because Madden, I thought after the game, or at the game, basically, it said that they could basically treat his appearance as a side session.
The most hell of a side session he's ever had.
Although Quintana's facial expression, he's Hendricks like in that he just does not show any emotion, which I kind of like that out of it.
I think the fact that they had a sequence where Wilson came out and talked to him. He gets on the rubber. Wilson gives him the signal. He stares at him, and then he backs off, and Wilson has to come out again. Jose was crapping his pants. And I don't blame him. I mean, he made one relief. It was the first relief appearance in 5 years.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they told him before the game, hey, we might need you, And he's like, oh, sure. Like, Kyle's going to screw this up. And all of a sudden, he's standing on the mound with runners all over. He looked a little concerned. I didn't really blame him.
So my mom asked a poignant question. She's like, "Is Hector Rondon on the playoff roster?" And I was like, I don't know, actually.
He was not.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And yeah, that's how the mighty have fallen on that.
Well, I think because of all the lefties, they convinced
totally.
Joe to keep Wilson,
Well,
and then
just-
Joe basically decided, "Fuck it, I'm not going to use that guy." So
Yeah.
they probably should have had Hector.
Yeah, you
I
would have been better off with Hector on that roster than
I would guess that. I think that might be the only change. Will be Hector over Wilson.
Yeah, did they announce that for the CS?
I don't think so. I think they might go Hector over Leonis, because ironically, like they didn't run out of position players on Thursday.
No.
So like I don't know. I guess the argument could be made that you could add an arm because they definitely need it, but I mean Wilson obviously makes sense too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, the first game ended with it was what Leonis in left, Almora in center, and Hayward in right. And Joe said, that's the finishing outfield. That's the one I want anytime we have a lead. And then he never did it again. And Thursday night ended up with Zobrist in left because he didn't.
Right.
Almora was out, and it's like, oh God, we got the 50-year-old man trying to chase a ball into the corner again.
Yeah.
So, Wade looked over there and said, "Okay, they can't hit it to left."
So Dolan, how turgid were you when Schwarber dented the padding in the wall? That was Brad.
I mean, that thing, it was really almost hit it through the wall. He almost hit that through the wall. I mean, it was great. TBS had the shot of the dent in the pad that didn't go away because he hit it so freaking hard.
So obviously Schwarber, we know how he can hit, but how about him going first to third behind him? Like, I knew he was for a sort of, I'm sure he's not a chubby guy, but like for a guy who looks kind of roundish, he's a decent enough runner.
Yeah.
Except when he decides to drift toward balls in left field. But
I knew that was a problem coming because he was going to run through the catch. It's like, Kyle, just get under it and catch it. And
thank you, Jason Worth, for making that not the worst outfield play of the postseason so far. But he flew. He scooted from first to third on that. That was neat.
Kyle's a good base runner.
Yeah, and Kyle Schwarber stole a base in Game 7 of the World Series.
That is true.
So,
so we've got Quintana tonight, and I assume it's Kershaw, right? Or no, they haven't ended.
Yeah, it's Kershaw.
It is Kershaw.
Yeah,
good. The very beatable postseason pitcher.
He gave up 4 home runs in his start against the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, screw him. All that matters is the Cubs have beaten him plenty of times.
So I would guess it's going to be Quintana, Lester, Hendricks, Arrieta.
Yeah, probably.
That way Kyle pitches Game 7 if there's a Game 7.
Yeah. Arrieta pitched great though. So yeah, and man, I don't know what the Nats batting average ended with, but the Cubs for a heavy hitting team, they did a really nice. I mean, Game 5 was probably the aberration, but they did a really nice job. And even Kyle settled down after the second pretty well. I was a little surprised that. Well, I guess I wasn't surprised because the time was right for him to get pulled. But Kyle actually, after leaving everything up early, seemed to settle in pretty well.
Well, there was a guy on Andy McCullough, who's the beat writer for the Dodgers for maybe the LA Times, is a close personal friend back to his Syracuse days of Danny Parkins on the Score. And he was on yesterday, and there's a shock.
To the Score?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to listen to it at lunch. It helps me digest.
I was thinking it had the opposite effect.
Yeah, well, I changed my pants afterwards. Anyway, you'd be shocked to know that Danny Parkins' friend from college is a douchebag. And he was saying that the Dodgers have a huge
schematic
advantage with Dave Roberts over Joe.
Is that Charlie Weiss?
And so Spiegel asked him, he said, well, what's an example? He said, well, like last night. He said, it's unconscionable that the two moves that come to mind immediately are he let Kyle Hendricks bat for himself in the 4th inning, and he had Wade Davis have to get 7 outs. And I'm thinking those are the two moves that I actually agreed with.
Yeah, best moves.
Like number one, there's one out, nobody on when Kyle came up, and you
Right.
had to get innings out of somebody. So he
Right.
had to stay, and it was only 1-run game. It
Unless
wasn't
you wanted
still
to go
4-1.
wacky. Yeah.
And then with Wade, who else was he going to use?
No. Yeah.
The whole
Wade
bullpen had proven they weren't up to the task, and it had to be Wade or nobody.
Someone when I was in a panic, had a panic post on Facebook. Someone was like, "Yeah, but who's going to pitch the ninth?" I'm like, Wade, obviously. Yeah. Like it was, or who's going to close it, or I think he said, and man, Wade. There's another guy that just is an emotionless cyborg out there, and I love it. Like just be out there and be an out getting machine.
Yeah, well, I loved how the ninth inning starts and Wade basically went, "Okay, I know how to do this."
Yeah.
And 1, 2, 3, no problem.
Nice clean inning. Yeah.
And it was the only time the Nats went down in order in the whole game. Was the ninth inning.
Top of the order too.
Yeah.
Yeah. To getting Harper, that was a filthy pitch to Harper, too. But it was a neat series. Did you guys have doubts going into Game 5, like all of Twitter did?
I didn't really. I thought they would score a bunch of runs because Gio Gonzalez was pitching. I didn't think Kyle was going to pitch poorly, and he didn't really pitch. He just didn't pitch like we expected him to pitch. He was okay.
And after the second, I mean, he was up. He was so up early, and then after the second, when he settled in, it was good. So the only flash of terror I had was watching Scherzer come out of that bullpen, and then the second they immediately started hitting him, I'm like, all right, they're good. they're gonna win this.
I felt good about Scherzer coming in when they showed him running sprints in the bullpen. And I thought, this guy, there's no way he's equipped to pitch in relief. Yeah. He's running what, like 70 feet back and forth as fast as he can. It's like, calm down, moron. Jeez.
It's only because Clement had said he wasn't available, so Dusty had to go to Scherzer.
But how about the fact that they won 3 of the 5 games that they had to win 3, obviously, but one was a Strasburg start, one was a Scherzer start, and the other was one where, Dusty went all Madison Bumgarner and threw his best pitcher out in the middle of the game, and they won that one too.
Well, and I mean, the other getting down 4-1 early was, it's just a Cub team that I don't know why the hell anyone would doubt him. And look what happened when they beat the Giants. I mean, the biggest inning comeback. Right? So it's like, whatever, just keep watching, dummies, even if the game goes 70 hours.
Yeah, Ben Finfer had a great tweet when they got up 7-4, and it was Cubs down 3 runs. Oh my God, the game's over. Cubs up by 3 runs. This game is not over.
You're right. Exactly.
It's all a matter of perspective.
Well, there was no Game 5 because according to Cubs Twitter, the series was over after Game 2. So,
yep.
And then Game 5 was over after the second inning. So, Cubs apparently like their 2s. Well, you better start liking 2s because 2 championships in a row will be nice. Especially now that the Indians are eliminated.
Yeah.
So we're okay. So let's look at our predictions. I have been wrong about everyone except the Cubs so far, I think.
Did we all pick the Diamondbacks over the Dodgers?
Yeah, I think we all did. Yeah.
That was a good pick.
I think we all, well, maybe in our heart of heart. No, I thought that the Diamondbacks could do it, but I certainly didn't expect the Dodgers to get past them for some reason. And I definitely didn't think the Yankees had a chance against the Indians.
No, not at all.
And neither did the Yankees for the first 2 games, apparently. I in my heart of hearts knew that the Twins were not going to beat the Yankees, but what are you going to do? But yeah, we're looking good so far in Chicago, though, on our Chicago predictions.
Yeah. Let's ride that one out.
So I think what we underestimated about the Diamondbacks was how screwed their pitching staff was after the wild card game.
Yeah.
They had to use Robbie Ray for like 4 innings, and they start game 1 with Taijuan Walker, and thankfully Jose Quintana is not Taijuan Walker. So.
Yeah. So now, obviously, we're going to stick with our Cubs predictions. Do we have?
Now I'm going Dodgers in 3.
Do we have how long is the series going to go first?
I'd say 6.
I was gonna six. Cubs in six.
Just like last year.
And when they lose one of the two games this weekend, then the entirety of Twitter flies completely off the rails. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, Cubs in six, I think.
I'll say 7. Dodgers in 7. No, I'm just kidding. Cubs in 7. And then who do we like out of Houston or New York? I assume Houston, but
yeah, Houston.
Yeah,
Houston in 2.
Yeah, Houston. That's a cool team. Although, man, Girardi's is still a bonehead. Don't get me wrong, but like that Yankees team has got some momentum. I know momentum isn't as big in baseball, but I was surprised. But Houston, I think, is for sure a better team.
What's crazy about the Yankees is that they're good already, and all the guys they got for Aroldis and for Andrew Miller, they're not even up yet.
Yeah.
I mean, they did get good players in those trades. They played Clint Frazier for a while, but he didn't finish the season with him.
Yeah.
And they're not supposed to be this good yet.
Yeah, they're rebuilding. Which, if you're on Al Yellen's timeline, they should be good this good immediately. But
absolutely.
Rebuild should take 10 minutes, or they're a failure.
I got to see him waiting for sign seats.
Saw that.
That was great.
That's sorry to stick on Al, but one of the first games I went to this summer.
So is a candy bar.
Yeah. It was like a 3:00 Saturday game, and I got up to the stadium probably around like 11. Go to a bar or whatever beforehand. I'm walking around left field, and there's Al sitting there in the front of the bleacher line on his little folding chair. Like, does he do that every single game?
You know what I think it is? I think if he would have done himself the favor of being not such an abominable shithead, if I ever had bleacher seats, I would make it my life goal to beat him to his seats. I hate sitting in the bleachers, but there are probably so many people that would just do that to piss him off. He probably has to.
Well, somebody told me that his lady friend who he's with is handicapped, which is a shock. But because of that, not only she's handicapped, so not only does he get to line up early and get in, but he gets in extra early because they allow anybody who, it's like boarding a plane, the limited mobility. So he's always going to get to that spot because he even gets to go in before the normal bleacher people. So
why would you ever stand in a line with a handicapped person? Like, I'd be like, we're going to show up 5 minutes before we know they're going to let us in before the general population.
He's paranoid that they'll show up, they'll get, something will happen and somebody will get his precious little seat. And he picks the worst freaking seat in the whole room.
I know. And they're assigned in the playoffs, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
So then really why is he lining up extra early?
Yeah, well, because he's
an odd little man.
Nothing better to do. And then I saw Dempster looking fly as fuck with a sport coat and jeans, and then of course how tall is Dempster? Because I'm only about 5'9", and
not very tall.
Yeah, he is a little Canadian man. It was, I was gonna yell something sarcastic at him, but I was like, let the guy. He's gone through enough lately.
Was he in Harry Carey mode, I assume?
No, he was actually because I think he threw out the first pitch or something.
Okay.
For game 4 or whatever I was at.
And his first pitch was so bad that's why the game started with Trey Turner on first base.
He was in whatever the park, whatever the park at Wrigley, whatever they're calling. I was walking across that grass patch and Dempster was walking the other direction. I had a very star-studded trip down there for 2 days in a row.
You saw all the elites.
Yeah.
Dave Kaplan, David DeJesus, Ryan Dempster, Al Yellen.
I see why Kim DeJesus is so gorgeous, because David DeJesus is a handsome man in person.
I don't quite understand why he's still so bad. He has not relaxed yet. And it's like, you would think after 100 of these now, you would get comfortable, because he knows what to say. It is not a dumb person. And you still see him pause to think before he says anything. And it always comes out wrong.
Okay, but I like him a lot better than Hollinsworth.
Well, I never watched the post game with Hollinsworth. Hollinsworth, he talked like he hesitated a lot and he he did weird. I couldn't listen to him.
Well, and at least DeJesus seems less buying into Kaplan's shtick.
Yeah.
Like Hollingsworth was all aboard. Remember when Plesac used to do the stupid Cubs train? Hollingsworth and with those stupid fists.
All the fists, blue fists.
They still do it, don't they?
Oh, probably, but
they brought the fist back. Yeah.
God.
Plesac did a Cub preview on MLB Network, and they actually had an animated Cubby Blue train, and he was the engineer. Yikes.
So what else?
I didn't watch. I don't think I watched any of the Dodgers and Diamondbacks. I would be so exhausted after the Cubs games that I'm like, all right, I gotta watch something else.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The Dodgers, Steve Garvey still plays first base for them. Mm-hmm. Is that right? And Ron Say,
and Bill pitching, I think,
and Davey Lopes.
Game 2.
I know they have Curtis Granderson, so I can't wait to see all the Phil Rogers tweets about how the Cubs should have signed him 10 years ago and what a great humanitarian he is. And it's like, we get it. He's a nice guy. He still can't hit for shit. So it's good that he's on the Dodgers and not the Cubs.
My mom was asking about. She's like, "Who's the youngest team left?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I'm like, "But the Dodgers have their parts of them are aging, but they have some really good young players." I'm like, "Of course the Cubs are young, but if you start thinking about like Anthony Rizzo's kind of an elder statesman at this point."
Yeah, he's 28.
Exactly. So my mom, I think, is just picking youth. But
I think the Cubs are still the youngest.
Now that the Indians, because the Indians probably would have had him, right? But I
don't know.
It would have been close, I think. But anyhow,
and you look at the Cubs every day; their starting lineup, and it's pretty damn young.
Yeah, I would say almost definitely youngest starting lineup. Heuston's pretty young though too. But anyhow, and Didi Gregorius is like 13 years old, right?
Or he's 13 or 40. Nobody's quite sure.
Yeah.
How old he is.
But yeah, I honestly have not had the energy to watch a lot outside of the Cubs just because it's been a lot more stressful than I expected. I was able to catch the end of the Game 5 for the Indians-Yankees, which was exciting, I guess, if you're a Yankee fan.
How about Kluber? He didn't pitch well in either game.
No.
That dude, that's the one guy you expect is going to be great, and he wasn't.
That's 2 years in a row in clinchers for Kluber getting knocked around a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the favorite stat for his Game 7 World Series appearance was the Cubs didn't have a swing and a miss against him. Oh, that was pretty good.
Maybe it was Javi in that game.
He was.
Yeah.
I think maybe Kluber must have hit him with the pitch both times. First pitch hit Javi in the butt.
So I haven't done any research for this, so I haven't looked up the stat on this. How many times since they've been playing together do you suppose that both Russell and Baez committed an error in the same game?
Yeah,
I don't know. God.
And tangentially, how many times have the Cubs in their history won a game that they've committed 4 errors?
I remembered the last game immediately that they had committed. Last playoff game, they committed 4 errors. And
we all remember that.
The Carlos Zambrano start.
Yeah. Yeah, that was when the entire infield.
The first 5 innings too, wasn't it?
Yep, they all took turns. That was great. The sign that it's not your day.
And then Manny's over there injecting Andro between at bats, hitting balls onto the freaking rooftops.
Hit a home run off of, was it off Dempster? The one that was like an inch off the ground, and Manny just whacks it 500 feet. Yeah, great.
Lost in this shuffle. Well, I'm sure not lost to you guys, and I remember I'd heard about this when they hired him, and I just forgot it. Can we talk about Jock Jones posting revenge porn?
Yeah, that was great. I think that really was the reason the Nats lost.
That was the turning point.
You lose your assistant hitting coach
Yeah.
The day of they fired him. Didn't they fire him or suspended him? And they're going to fire him now.
Still fire him.
At the morning of game one, those poor players, they're rudderless without Jock's advice as to how to swing at a pitch over your head and still manage to ground it to second base.
How dusty of a hiring is Jock Jones as a hitting coach?
Can you imagine? I wish they had a podcast about their time with the Cubs. That would have been. That was must listen. I'd love to see through their minds how they were treated.
But and then they have guests like LaTroy Hawkins on there.
Yep, and Gord Whitmire. Those would be the whole group.
Yeah. Oh my God. So of course that's a despicable thing because anytime a dude posts revenge porn, it discourages more women to not send upstanding men naked pictures. But I'm quite shocked that Jock Jones knows how to post pictures or video on the internet. But yeah, what a shithead that guy was, and just further confirmation. And
I can picture Jock walking up to like the clubhouse kid with his Motorola Razr phone and a Polaroid, and he's like, "How do I get this in here?"
Oh man. Yeah, so you guys don't do that. That's stupid. But Jock, yeah, I was hilariously surprised to be reminded that he was there.
I had forgotten, and I think that was something I could forget.
Yeah,
it's Dusty and Jock. That's quite the combo.
And then wait, isn't Chris Spears or isn't that Chris?
Yeah,
Spears?
Chris Spire, I think, is on the staff.
Like, how do I remember that? Oh yeah.
I mean, if you're the Nats, why wouldn't you just make Mike Maddox your manager? I mean, why would you really would you want to go through another year of this with the dust bag and
no?
And
because is that what he has left on his contract just next year?
Yeah, he only had a 2 year. No, this year he only had a 2 year contract because they tried to hire Bud Black to be their manager, and they offered him a 2 year contract, and he went, "No, I'm not coming for 2 years." So he went to Colorado instead.
Yeah,
and so then they hired Dusty, but they only gave him 2 years.
Okay,
and they're expected to give him 2 more, but I don't. After that, I don't know why you would.
Yeah,
please do. I mean,
honestly,
yeah, we can use it because we're gonna have to be. The Nats are going to be there to be dealt with for at least 1 more year until Bryce either comes to the Cubs or the Yankees.
I don't know how they're gonna lose the heart and soul of that team when Worth walks away, right?
Yeah, and they signed him to that huge contract to prove they were ready to win. That was the big deal, and he's never been that good. He had a huge home run in 2012 in Game 4. Right, against the Cardinals, a walk-off. Yeah, could have been a walk-off because of Game 5.
Isn't there a bobblehead commemorating?
It was a Game 2. He had a walk-off in that series.
Yeah,
and but that was the year that they blew. That loss was even more incredible than the way they lost.
Yeah,
Thursday night they were up 6-0 and then up 7-5 in the 9th, and blew it.
I know Ron Darling had 4 hours to continue reminding me about that game.
Oh, my favorite! I think this is my new favorite thing about the playoffs. We might see it again with the Dodgers. Was we got to see the compilation or whatever, the video montage of terrible playoff losses for a team, and it wasn't the Cubs, it was the Nationals.
Yeah,
they just kind of kicked back and went, "Oh, yeah, I see why people like this stuff. This is amazing. This is not us." That I was telling Kyle in a few minutes before we came on that watching Game 5, I realized what it was like to play against the Cubs all those years, and just watch a team get a gun out and blow every toe off their foot.
Well, not only that, but it was like I leaned over to Kelsey. I was like, "This is weird that all of the breaks are going the Cubs' way." I mean, other than there were some pretty awful strike and ball calls during that game. Like,
well, there was a reason that the Cubs walked 9 guys, and it was a combination of shoddy relief pitching and just a strike zone that was about the size of postage stamp.
It was a little shitty.
I mean, how about the fact that the ump actually punched Wilson Contreras in the chin?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Wilson deserved it. He missed that fastball by like a foot. Whoops. Hey, I'm glad you're there. I bet at the backstop.
Wilson. He is. I cannot imagine how infuriating Wilson is to watch if you're not a Cubs fan.
Yeah.
because like
Oh, he's the best.
he is so awesome. Oh God, he's the good. It's what everyone used to say about Przinski. It's like, well, you love him if he's on your team. It's like, I don't think I
Well, I'll
would.
give AJ credit. AJ actually in the playoffs, the year that I think it was the year they won the Sox won the World Series, allegedly. He sold the call that Wieters couldn't get. He got he got the interference call because he complained, and he probably knew the rule. He probably cited it by number.
It was against the Angels, right? Wasn't that the first? Wasn't that division series?
The Angels, what ridiculous one was that? That was that just when he ran to first on a ball?
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
That hit the ground. Yeah,
right. Yeah, he just took.
And the Angel catcher thought he caught it, so he didn't throw to first, and they realized that AJ was right.
Yeah.
God, he's such a little dick. I hate that guy.
But yeah, they
and it was great of TBS. It took them like 5 minutes to figure out what Wieters was arguing about.
Yeah.
Like he's pointing at his mask. Like I think maybe that's what he's probably arguing about. And they're like,
I never figured out. I think it was the next batter or a couple batters later, whatever it was, when Jay got hit in the knee or whatever, and Dusty was arguing about something, and
that he swung.
Yeah,
Dusty thought it was a foul ball.
well, I think
it did look weird. It hit his.
It looked weird, yeah. But
it hit his shin guard and it bounced really hard. And Dusty, from where he was, thought it was a foul ball.
You thought? I thought Dusty thought he swung.
Yeah, I thought.
No, Dusty said in the postgame that he thought it was a foul ball.
Oh,
that makes a little more sense.
Dusty's postgame was amazing. There were the first few questions. They were legitimately like, "So did you know basic rules of baseball?" Like it was amazing. It was, and Dusty's like, well, like trying, like that, like wavering. My voice is gonna crack because I'm so sad that we're so used to hearing.
The best though was Dusty's biggest lament was all about Dusty. It was that if they had won, they were gonna play the Dodgers because he used to play for the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. He used to live in Riverside, California. He's going on about this stuff. I'm like, Dusty, as a manager, you're supposed to talk about how disappointed you are for your team,
even
not for yourself.
Self-absorbed.
He can't. Asshole. No, he can't get past that. It's all about him, and it's always been all about him.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why people think we're supposed to feel sorry for him. I just
no. For the
I don't hate him, but I don't want him to have. I don't feel like he deserves any pity. He's made a crap load of money, and he's done a shit job at pretty much every place he's been. So fuck him. He doesn't deserve any sympathy.
Right. I love our good friend Paul Sullivan, but I couldn't even get past the headline of the article he wrote this week when he's like, people who are booing Dusty have a short memory. I'm like, nope, he's bad, and he was bad in Chicago.
People with the short memory are the ones who don't boo him.
Right, exactly.
They're the ones who feel sorry for him.
Right.
I think I was thinking about this. I think a moment that will probably get lost, now that because the series is over and the Cubs won and everybody will think about Game 5, was how balls was John Lester in Game 4.
Oh my God, yeah.
And he just comes strolling out of the bullpen again. And he throws 3 2/3 hitless innings. It's amazing. He picked a guy off first base, and he threw over twice in a row.
I know, it was awesome.
That led me to believe I'm sitting there. I had to watch that game. I had to watch it in a bar because we had a work event. So we stuck out of work a little early, went to that, and then went back to the event. And
you snuck out for a little bit, watch an entire game of baseball.
No, we watched some of it in my office before.
Okay.
We left. Then we watched the rest at a bar, and then had to go back and work for a few hours. So everybody got, there was ample amount of work done. But I turned to the friend when he threw over the second time. I'm like, he's got to be exhausted. Trying to pick somebody off first base. It's because he's like, I'm done. I don't have any pitches left.
Yeah.
Let's just pick this guy off first.
Well, probably other than the Zobrist double in Game 7 of the series, Lester coming out of the bullpen in Game 7 was one of the coolest sights I've ever seen. And he is one of those guys that you just, I don't know, just almost implicitly trust. Oh, speaking of the World Series double, Addison, yay. Because every time Hayward comes up, I've been like, okay, Hayward, this is your moment. And every time I want him. You know what? I'll pick him for the CS. He'll have a huge CS. And then I'm gonna cry. But Addison, who'd been relatively quiet, considering how good he was last postseason, big, just awesome, perfect hit.
Yeah.
It was really cool. Cool game,
With-
cool series.
With Hayward, the thanks to Fells, at Cubs Ivy Drip, he keeps posting that he's waiting for Hayward's JD Drew moment, where you sign the guy to the horrible contract, but he hits a grand slam like in the World Series and it totally redeems himself. And it keeps setting up for it, like over and over again in that series. And Hayward was in a spot where you're like, oh, this could be it. The one fluky moment. Like, no, not yet.
Well, he did draw a pass ball that allowed a run to score.
That's true.
So.
And he got Dusty to intentionally walk him because Scherzer fell behind 2-0, and there's no way he could have come back from that. So better just put him on first, and then that set up the whole Javi, Tommy La Stella, and then Jay series of events because there were 2 outs when all that happened.
Yeah.
Just think about that. If he just pitches to Hayward and gets him out, none of that happens.
Yeah,
and that would have happened.
I'm kind of worried that his JD Drew moment was a speech last year.
Well, or could have been that ridiculous. I mean, that's another one. The catch he made in Game 5 into the corner, he makes it look easy, so you don't think it's that big a deal. And then they show the replay, and you're like, "Holy crap! He ran like 80 feet in a second and a half. And somehow caught that ball." I mean, he has value. It's frustrating. We talked about it in the last podcast because he looks like he ought to be able to really hit.
Yeah.
Everything about him. And I almost wonder if last year they fixed at least he's got the weird hitch out of the swing.
Yeah.
Maybe this year they can convince him, just hit the ball hard to left field. That's when you were your best with the Cardinals, is when you were going the opposite way all the time because you're so freaking strong. You can hit it over the left fielder's head. Just do that. Because he tries to pull it, and that's why he pounds it into the ground, hits it to second base over and over and over again. Or the 900-mile pop-ups, which are beautiful, but they're always an out.
So, if the Cubs can manage to just go ahead and win another World Series, I think that'll alleviate. Because I still think he's got to be pressing to impress this team, or not to impress this team, but to impress these idiot fans who, no offense, but who will, maybe if they can just win 2 in a row, they'll not have to worry about Hayward because he started off this year pretty good.
Yeah.
And he finished really well, actually.
Yeah.
His September was really good. But it was also a mirage against some pretty lousy pitching.
Teams, yeah.
That's the problem. You get to the playoffs, and all of a sudden, there's no more. You don't get to face the Reds pitching staff anymore. And
and there's nowhere to hide.
Guys who can't hit, don't hit. How about Javi going 0 for the NLDS after last year when he was, the MVP, star of the NLDS?
Gave an MVP. But, that wasn't surprising to me the way he's been. Man, I would never want them to try and change, because remember when they tried to change Starlin and we're like, hey,
they screwed him up.
And he's like, well, I can't hit anymore, and then they're like, screw it, just start swinging again. I hope that, and I think Madden does, as infuriating as he can be to watch, like I think you just have to take the good with the bad with Javi.
Well, with the Nats, he was back to I always swing at the first pitch. I'm probably going to swing at the second pitch. I'm going to take the third pitch. And then I'm going to make the out on the fourth pitch. Every single at bat. It's like, just come on.
He swung at one that was
over
his eyes, I think. Yeah.
Well, it was funny. That was Ron Darling asked. He said he wanted StatCast to check if that's the highest pitch anybody's ever swung at. And apparently the home run that Michael A. Taylor hit off Hendricks was the second highest pitch anybody hit for a home run this year.
Really?
Yeah. Of course, it helped that when Kyle throws you a high fastball, it's 85 miles an hour. I don't know if that was that. I can't imagine that his high fastballs were by design. It had to just be him missing.
Yeah, he was missing his spots a little bit
early, especially. Yeah.
Because I wouldn't know why you would have changed your approach from game 1, where they didn't get a hit after the second inning and never hit a ball hard off of him.
Yeah. Soft contact. Darling kept saying over and over and over again.
There is a great gif of the Cubs dugout running onto the field, and somebody posted it and wrote, "Wait for Hendricks."
Oh, I saw
so
that.
You see it in the first 2 guys, and then Hendricks comes into this almost like the Schwarber one from the World Series last year. He comes in and you just see him mouth "fuck yeah," and he's running at the camera. It's like, oh, Kyle. Is that did they teach you those words at Dartmouth?
I'll have to find that. It's
Good stuff.
Yeah.
So the Dodgers are, I guess they changed their bullpen quite a bit, and obviously they added Darvish. But otherwise, it's basically the same. Well, they don't play Adrian Gonzalez at first base anymore, so we don't get to listen to him, tell their dugout to challenge every single play in the entire series. Because he's 100% sure that it's going to get overturned.
Maybe
it's pretty much the same team that the Cubs beat last year.
Mm-hmm. I still cannot believe that Rich Hill is on a major league roster in
Game
big
2
spots. Like what? Oh my God.
I hope he doesn't baffle them that like he did last year. Because I would love to watch.
Last year he did it once, and then not surprisingly, he couldn't do it again.
Right. Seeing him the second time through. But I hope the Cub lineup just lights him up.
So you're not going to get a lot of Schwarber starting because 3 of the 4 Dodgers pitchers are lefties.
Yeah.
You're going to get a lot of Almora, which should be pretty good.
Yeah.
I guess John Jay probably plays left field then. Neither him or Zobrist. Didn't we learn though that? Well, no, I guess Zobrist is. I don't know. Which way does he actually hit now? Is it right-handed or left-handed? Because it's one or the other.
Wait, Zobrist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess they want him. They don't want him hitting right-handed, right? He didn't start against Gio.
No.
So he probably won't. So you're probably going to see Almora, Jay, and I don't know. It is tough with them facing lefties because it makes Hayward less useful than normal, and he's not that useful anyway. I guess the good news is that one of them is Rich Hill, and hopefully you give him a little adversity and he craps his pants like he did with the Cubs. And Alex Wood was really good for a lot of the season, but he doesn't. There's a good chance that he won't be in the playoffs.
Well, and Bryant and Baez are due to hit about 6 home runs each, right?
How about Bryant struck out in the first inning all 5 times?
Yeah.
He struck out, 5 at-bats in a row at one stretch?
Yes, he had the sombrero in game 2 or whatever it was.
I think somebody needs to remind him he's the MVP. He's probably forgotten.
Yeah. Yeah, he was. You know what's funny about Bryant? Because he was basically getting fooled on the same pitch that gets Javi every single time, that slider that just disappears away from him. And you can almost see in his face that as he's starting his swing, he knows he's going to miss it. And it's like,
oh crap.
Yeah, he's like, and then just walks on. It's
What was the stat in game 4, Strasburg? I think the Cubs swung and missed his changeup 25 times.
Yeah, it was something crazy.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I wanted to say from before. What was it? Was it 37% of pitches that Javi swings at? There was some insane stat, like the pitches that he sees that they flashed up on TBS, that it was like, it might have been 47%, but that can't be right. Like I think it was 30. I think of just pitches he sees, he swings at.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That seems low for Javi.
Well, he'll go a month without taking a walk.
Yeah. You almost wonder if batting him 8th is. I mean, it makes it extra easy not to throw him a strike.
Yeah,
it's never already easy anyway. Maybe you ought to flip him and Hayward, so that at least there's the pretense of a major league hitter batting behind him, even if it's Jason Hayward. I don't know. So maybe if they need an extra right-handed bat, because of all the lefties, Rene Rivera, playoff roster, try him in right field. I'm sure that would work pretty well. I think he'd cover a lot of ground out there without having to move. He's a large man.
I think I could see them going Hap out there tonight, to be honest, and play for offense, I guess. Because you got to figure their pitching's spent.
Yeah,
I'd love to see Hap out there.
Yeah, I think that probably is the outfield. It's probably Hap, Almora, and Jay, at least tonight, and maybe again on Sunday. I don't know. It was nice to see Schwarber, although it was Sammy Solis, but it was nice to see Schwarber bat against a lefty and just obliterate a pitch to remind people it's like, I'm not always that helpless. I wouldn't start him against Kershaw. I wouldn't do that to the guy, but I'd give him a start against Rich Hill.
Oh yeah.
I have an unhealthy love for Kyle. So for all Kyles, really.
I think it's pretty healthy.
So anyway,
Can't find hobby swing percentage.
if it's less than 100, I think it's wrong. Is he ever taking a pitch?
See, the thing with Javi though, like he could flip the switch and go 4 for 4 with like 4 doubles tonight or something, and then
Totally.
God, it's just
offensive swing percentage in 2017, 46.1%.
Oh, yeah, that seems high. It seems like you probably shouldn't. That's probably not a prudent approach.
To be fair, contact percentage 52.6%. So at least he's hitting 20% of the pitches he sees, or 20, whatever it is.
I think it was Bob Nightingale, maybe. And that was one of the surprises I had, was that when Dusty did his press conference after Game 5, that Bob Nightingale wasn't sitting on his lap. I think it was him that tweeted before Game 5. One of the national writers tweeted, "Now that the Nats have exposed a hole in Anthony Rizzo's swing, expect them to." I'm like, well, what? Is there one? And did they find it? I don't think they did. Let's just calm down.
He's 5 seasons into his career, something like that. I mean, with the Cubs at least, which is basically this whole. I mean, he had half a season with the Padres, but I think he came up in 2012, right?
Yeah, July of 2012. Yeah.
And I think the perfect example of what a ridiculous sport baseball is was the 2 at-bats Rizzo had against Oliver Perez. He bats against him in Game 2 and just obliterates a ball, but hits it right at shortstop for a double play. He bats against him in Game 3, hits a freaking pop-up that there's only 1 square foot of turf at Wrigley that it could have landed untouched, and it finds that spot.
Well, also, I forget who Dusty had pitching, who he pulled for Perez in whatever that was, Game 4. Whatever. What was that? Game 3?
The Rizzo bloop.
3.
Yeah.
But Perez, whoever he had, the righty he had had reverse splits against lefties.
Yeah.
And Perez has reverse splits against righties, of course. So Dusty made the exact wrong decision, as always. Like when who was it? God, who was the awful, when we had Dave Veers, who was the bad lefty that we had?
Remlinger.
Well,
he wouldn't throw his changeup to a lefty, so he was useless against a lefty.
That's right.
But Dusty always brought him in to get lefties out because he's left-handed.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Lights out against righties.
Yes, if when he was given to a competent manager, Bobby Cox, like Remlinger was awesome.
Yep.
When given to Dusty, he was useless, and it's because he didn't know how to use him. Yeah. And people, we're supposed to feel sorry for Dusty because that's all this bad luck. It's like, I think the bad luck. I don't know that it's bad luck.
I think
it's bad managing. I think it's what a lot of it is.
Sorry for Dusty people are the same people saying that that we should root for the Indians this year.
Isn't it terrible that it's like, no, their streak was 68 years. Ours was 108. They have 40 years to wait.
Right. Screw them.
So screw them.
We'll be all dead by then, except for Kyle, probably. So, well, good. So we're all predicting an Astros Cubs World Series that we'll have to come back and do this again.
Yep. So it'll be Yankees Dodgers.
Yeah, no.
Which I'm sure TV would love. Although it's the 4 biggest media markets.
Yeah.
So
they can't lose.
Speaking of TV, quick, is it going to be the same announcer parent or
it is not?
Okay, it's going to be Anderson.
It's going to be Brian Anderson.
Okay.
Milwaukee Brewer announcer Brian Anderson, who's fine.
Yeah.
He's a little dull, but Ernie, who I love. I love Ernie. You can't not love Ernie Johnson. Ernie Johnson he's an awesome guy. He's the best studio host of any studio broadcast ever. I mean, him and his wife have done amazing things. They adopted a kid who has horrible physical challenges, and they've taken care of him forever because they're great people. He's a terrible baseball announcer. He just is. But so it will step up a little bit with Brian Anderson. But that begs the question to me as to why doesn't Len Casper get a national TV job when the playoffs start?
Yeah.
he's every bit as good or better than the milquetoast Brian Anderson. But thankfully, it saves poor Cub fans who have to listen to the games on the radio. You don't get a Coomer inning in the playoffs.
Oh my God!
You get Len Casper instead. So,
don't you think they're mostly looking for milquetoast though on their national broadcasts? I mean, I don't know. I think that's the safe. It's like when you're a chef and you don't make your food.
Honestly, I think they hired Anderson because he also does NCAA basketball tournament games for him too. So they get a twofer. It's like the odd. I don't think he does it anymore, but the odd. Occasionally in the winter, you would flip around and you'd hear Pat Hughes doing a Marquette basketball game on ESPN. They'd be like, "Holy shit, that's Pat Hughes!" It's like seeing your teacher at the supermarket, and you're like, "Wait a minute, what? What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be out in the wild."
I can thankfully say that I've never flipped around my radio and landed on a Marquette basketball.
No, it's TV, ESPN TV. Oh. And Pat's good, as you would expect. Pat, he's a good basketball. He was a college basketball player.
Was he really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So and apparently he's still, which I would love to see. Apparently on the road, he knows because he's been in the National League ever since he came to the Cubs. But he's been in baseball forever because he was with I think the Brewers were still American League when he was there. But he knows in different cities, places he can work out on the road and shoot baskets, and that's apparently how he loosens up. I would just love to see it because I picture him with golf shorts and a sweater, and he's out there shooting baskets. But he's also taller than you think. I think maybe 6'2" or 3.
I've only ever seen him sitting.
Or with Ron Santo sitting next to him. And Ron loved to brag that his prosthesis has made him taller than his. They were longer than his legs were, so he was taller when he put them on.
Shit! I keep losing my train of thought. Anyhow, never mind.
All right. Well, yeah. Hopefully they're only 4 games away from another World Series. How about the fact we can say the Cubs are 4 games away from another World Series? 3 years in a row, they're playing for the National League pennant.
Mm-hmm.
So these are heady days, my friends. And there's really no end in sight. At some point, this will run out, but they're going to be good.
Now that I'm thinking of this, when they TBS was like, oh, they're Cubs are threatening to win 3 in a row after they hadn't won one for 25, or they hadn't been to a championship series for 25 years. I'm just trying to do the math on this because obviously 03 and then 84. How long ago was? I guess that might. No, that's not 20. Oh yeah, I guess it is.
It's 30.
Yeah,
3 years. Mm. Yeah, ESPN on the Crawl had a weird stat that said the Cubs are in their 3rd straight National League Championship Series for the first time since 1906 and 1908. I'm like, well, there was no National League Championship Series. You just won the pennant and you played in the World Series.
Idiots.
Yeah.
ESPN.
I think what they meant was they're playing for their 3rd straight National League Championship, and they hadn't done that. Well, even that doesn't make sense.
No,
yeah, right.
Yeah, there's no defense that the Crawl is terrible and it should go away.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen.
All right, well, good job. Oh, an hour right on the dot. Look at this. We're getting good at this.
I know, but you didn't tell people what you were drinking there.
Oh, because it's morning, I had a Founders Breakfast Stout, which is a seasonal, which is in stores now. So,
Are you getting
proud sponsor of the Discipio podcast?
You need to be splitting this with us. I'm not a corporate shill.
I'll shill for anybody who will give me anything. But I went and bought that. And my wife yelled at me. She came down about 2 minutes into the podcast, somebody drinking a beer, and goes, "Is that why you bought breakfast stout last night?" Yes, that's why I bought it.
All right, boys.
All right.
Enjoy the game tonight.
All right, go Cubs.
Go Cubs.